At long last, now that we're past its first 2 release windows, CBS has finally released the first trailer for Star Trek Discovery. Set 10 years before the original series, Discovery is supposedly set in the prime timeline of the Star Trek universe, although the aesthetic clearly has taken some influences from the J.J. Abrams movies. Also, wow, it looks like there's going to be another story about the Klingon appearance that they don't like talking about. Still, it looks decent enough. The question is, does it look decent enough to justify buying into CBS All Access? Especially since Discovery isn't the only space adventure coming out this fall. Over on Fox, Seth MacFarlane and Jon Favreau have come up with The Orville, a Star Trek spoof that somehow looks a lot more like classic Star Trek than anything else on the market, albeit with considerably more jokes and celebrity cameos.
Oh, crap. Sorry, man. You okay?
Yeah, it's all good, man. You okay?
Yeah, all good. Sorry.
All right, no worries.
Also on Fox, we didn't have to wait very long to go from teaser to trailer for The Gifted. If the teaser gave off a Heroes vibe, the trailer should feel even more familiar, as it turns out that the super-powered blonde cheerleader-looking type has a dad that hunts down mutants for the government. So far, the show doesn't look like it has too many connections to the X-Men franchise, but there are a few familiar characters in the cast, such as Blinken Polaris, and considering Stephen Moyer is married to Anna Paquin, maybe there's room for a Rogue cameo down the line. And over on the CW, yet another DC superhero is being added to the lineup, a gritty reboot of the Super Friends favorite, Black Lightning. It looks like the CW is finally bringing some diversity to their network, because instead of an angsty 20-something superhero, Black Lightning is about a middle-aged hero coming out of retirement to clean up his streets. Oddly enough, Black Lightning isn't part of the shared universe of Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and sometimes Supergirl, although with the multiverse, anything is possible. For now, though, it looks like the show is going to be standing on its own. And over in video games, the mysterious third character of Sonic Forces has been revealed, and it's... oh boy. It's DeviantArt's dream come true. The third slot in the game will be a user-created character, Do Not Steal. Your custom character will be playable in both classic and modern styles of gameplay, and will have more than just cosmetic choices to choose from. Different species will have their own unique abilities, and it seems that you can equip your character with gear such as a grapple hook or flamethrower. Allowing the Sonic fandom to create their own characters may seem like opening up Pandora's box, but it does make sense from the development side. Sonic Generations, which is obviously this game's largest influence, introduced customization options of its own. Sonic Forces just seems to be taking that system to the next logical step, for better or worse. In other gaming news, ARMS got its own Nintendo Direct this week, going into depth about the mechanics and bare-bones lore of ARMS.
For some reason, none of these superstar fighters can remember the moment they first realized they had the ARMS ability. They just woke up one morning and bam, extendable arms.
Not only does each arm have its own weight, element, and ability, but the characters themselves have unique abilities to consider when picking your build. Oddly enough though, building up an arsenal of arms seems to be done via random loot, which is disturbingly close to gacha-style loot boxes. One would hope Nintendo doesn't decide to start charging real money for them. Especially since duplicate arms increase their power, which will have who knows what effect on the game's balance over time. Switch owners will get a chance to test out ARMS for themselves though. For the next 2 weekends, Nintendo will open the game up for the global test punch, letting anybody demo it while also testing their servers. And ARMS isn't the only free weekend coming up. Blizzard's Overwatch will be offering a free weekend from May 26th through 29th for anybody that wants to try out the game. The free weekend coincides with the 1-year anniversary of the game's launch, which starts on Tuesday, May 23rd and will end on Monday, June 12th. Yet, even with it being so close, very little is known about exactly what the anniversary event will entail. We know that the Arena mode will be expanding with 3 new maps that appear to be based on Dorado, Eichenwald, and the Temple of Anubis, and we know that there will be the usual additions of skins, emotes, and voice lines, but that's basically it. I guess we'll find out more in a few days. And that's not the only big Blizzard news this week. We may never get to see Titan, but it looks like a first-person shooter MMO is coming to BattleNet after all. Bungie's Destiny was never fated for a PC release, but it looks like Destiny 2 will remedy that situation. But instead of building their own online infrastructure from scratch, Bungie will be piggybacking onto BattleNet for the PC release. While it may seem strange that Blizzard will be hosting a non-Blizzard game on BattleNet, Bungie is under a 10-year agreement with Activision, so it makes sense for them to team up for this game. Hitting theaters this week, Jack Sparrow returns in Pirates of the Caribbean. Dead men tell no tales. Jack is in a race against an undead rival from his past to get a hold of a magic artifact and save the Seven Seas, so it's pretty much every other Pirates movie, but hey, at least this time Orlando Bloom is back. And for more oceanside adventure, there's Baywatch. I'm still not thrilled about every retro TV show getting a parody movie. I'm looking at you, Chips. But this does look funny, and I'll watch Dwayne Johnson in pretty much anything. Over on television, it's the continuation 25 years in the making as Twin Peaks returns on Showtime. The surreal crime drama brings back much of the original cast as Agent Cooper returns to Twin Peaks for an 18-episode limited series. And in video games this week, hitting PC is Unit 4, a neat-looking 4-player co-op platformer that has you traveling the universe to jump across various 2D levels in different ways. Next up, Mid-Boss isn't the prettiest looking game to come out this week, but a roguelike dungeon crawler that has you taking possession of enemy bosses to gain their abilities is a neat enough gimmick to be noted. For something a little more high budget, Vanquish is another Platinum Games title that looks like it does what Platinum does best. In fact, this game looks so much like their wheelhouse that I'm surprised they didn't just call it Platinum Games The Game. And on the horror side of things, Get Even is an interesting looking first-person shooter that seems to be centered a lot on narrative and psychological horror. Heading out into space, Star Smashers is the first of 2 ship management games out this week. This one has decent looking 3D graphics, but is at its core a turn-based game about shooting your way across the galaxy. Meanwhile, Icarus Starship Command Simulator initially looks a lot like FTL, but is actually a first-person shooter that has you personally defending your ship and boarding enemy vessels. And finally for PC, if this sounds familiar, then you might want to check out Emily is Away 2, the nostalgia-filled sequel to the original Friendzone simulator that probably hit home for anybody that went to college in the early 2000s. And on the Nintendo Switch, Ultra Street Fighter 2 The Final Challengers is coming out. It is, as near as I can tell, the 7th unique iteration of the game, depending on how you consider some of the more obscure versions and ports of past titles. And I suppose I should mention Fire Emblem Echoes on the 3DS, which released last week but somehow slipped under my radar. That brings us to this week's CGBros video, Shell Game by Yishen Lee. It's a video about a crab that will leave you with so many questions. And finally, this week's awesome video is another video game mashup from Hat Loving Gamer, who adapted Super Smash Bros. Into the style of classic Pokemon. That's everything for this week, so what is your Sonic the Hedgehog self-insertion character? Make one up in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, pass this video around to your friends, and have a great week!